Welcome back to the Boise State Esports Arena. We are here for Boise State's long-awaited Mountain West 2024 debut. Boise State is ready to face off against their first opponent in this tournament in what is a very crucial year for Mountain West Championships. We'll get into why so a little bit later, but right now I want to introduce myself. My name is Jacob Palmer. I'm your host, and I've got Hayden Dalton with me to call all of the action with you. Hayden, of all the great regional rivals that are in the Mountain West, who is Boise State going up against first?
Going up against New Mexico here. So, you know, this team, they're the Lobos.
Tie-breaking year, and the Broncos want more than anything to claim the championship for a fourth year in a row. But that has to start with the first match, and how do they win
South Florida
Broncos so far? Yeah, I would
get a
say
bit of
nine
revenge
for the Broncos. Let's see if we can start it off on the right foot as we head on down into Antarctica. A view of all the various stages that can be brought out here. Onto the Zarya. See how much he can get that charge up as an already Barracks has taken a bit of damage. Matt Merck lands a good pick against Faraday. Boise State is now up one in this fight. Matt Merck is going to get life ripped on out of there to a higher vantage point. We got a fight going on between the two Shimada brothers. It's going to go in favor of Hanzo, aka Matt Merck. And Faraday, Matt Merck wins again. That Hanzo has been the #1 target of his bow.
Yeah, just landing all these shots. Yep, right there, picking off the support, and Lucio to keep healing them. You see the Life Weaver tree coming out as well, going to keep everyone alive through the Dragon Blade. And now
Lyric is going to be a DPS in his own right with a melee onto Kurama. Faraday brings out that Deadeye, the only ultimate Lobos can use, but it'll be enough to help them take control of the point. The time is ticking up for them. Boise State stuck at 99, but Cal doing a great job on the Zarya. Takes out, spent by the Lobos. Boise State uses their own Kitsune rush. Zarya bubbles are out to try to charge Barracks up for this Graviton surge. Their Lucio's very low on health, but it's clear, and Cal, who comes storming in, and are going to take out a whole bunch of the Lobos, but they are fighting back. They got 2 picks against the Broncos. Clear is able to get rid of the Lobos tank. That's a huge pick, and Cal cleans it up, getting rid of Kurama and securing Antarctica for the Broncos. To go up against the Lobos in Game 2 of this Mountain West Showdown Best of 5. Can the Broncos avoid where they tripped up last time and drive? Boy, they do manage to get a touch, and Matmer comes in, getting a pick onto Bozeman. Where does it lead from here? Machine is a little bit low on health. Daydream and Matmer also hurting just a bit, but they managed to heal back up. Clear getting the second pick onto Kurama. Key DPS taken out, and the tank is right behind them. Now Silhouette is the 4th one to be taken out. Clear uses the beat. He gets hacked in response to Matmer. Has his first pick. He gets taken out of his copy, but Boise State is still winning this team fight. Genji Blade is going to be enough to turn things around. Look at those 3 picks from the Lobos, but Clear comes through in shining colors with a triple of his own. The pulse bomb comes through clutch, and Boise State still
supports right at the beginning of the fight. Managed to pull through and hold for another round.
He's going to start out with a Graviton surge. Boise State uses Kitsune Rush and the Primal Fury in response, and like a landslide, it's a team-wide 4 for Broncos. New Mexico goes back to start yet again.
1 minute left here on the attack. I do like the cheeky...
It's a good one Matt Merck has from Hotel, waiting for them to push through. Machine does have this hack, though, and Kurama caught way out of a position. Gets eliminated by Matt Merck, and now 1 squad member down. Make that 2. Both DPSs are gone, and this is not the time that New Mexico wants to reset their sub 30 seconds. Only both supports alive, as there's a fight back and forth. New Mexico gets a pick against the Broncos. Hack onto Kel as well, but before that hack, he managed to get 1 flame strike onto the very person who hacked him. Oh, poetic justice! And can the Broncos continue to move forward? They can, as Lyric...
Earlier match, they got a lot of these points very close, and so I feel like the Broncos are kind of warmed up and just kind of in their stride now with the...
A bit of a ambushed by Kurama, and a yelp goes out from Matt Marcus. He's caught off guard. New Mexico actually off to a good start
early on, and it kind of cascades from there. Clear, though, keeping alive in this fight, just getting all this damage on. Almost got the pulse bomb. Gonna actually throw that into the Graviton Surge, getting huge damage.
They brute forced their way through that beat as much as they could, and it worked wonders. Lord recalls on out of there. There's a Genji Blade out from New Mexico. Derek picks off Matt Murph. Silhouette taking a whole bunch of damage, and they manage to land it. The Machine's still taking out Kel and losing that tank. I don't know if the Broncos can bring this back. Clear does manage to win kind of an ego battle off to the corner.
Aimed too well on its own.
Well, guess who just aimed down the turret? Kurama.
Yeah.
So, you know, that argument remains to be seen. What a boot! Did it get it? Yes, it does. And onto the tank. That is a gold prize right there. He's after even more. Lyric's unstoppable, but it doesn't look like it manages to take this blade. Turret is taken out. That's a Rampage going in, but it doesn't hit anyone from Boise State, and they still have the beat to negate any sort of ultimate New Mexico brings out. That's a great pick. The hack can't come out from Machine, and they start to fall like dominoes as Boise State goes in, not even having to spend any ultimates because Cal is charged up like you wouldn't believe and takes out. And also a sticky bomb placed out, a lot of damage on New Mexico. They don't have a beat, but they do have a Kitsune rush. But Maverick is able to pick up the tank. That's huge. Kurama falls right after this. This could be it. The one that decides that Boise State needed this win so bad. They're so close taking the flashpoint back. They do manage to take out the Genji Silhouette. Both supports are down, and I think that is
tomorrow I'm flying out to Korea to be playing professional Overwatch in the OWCS APAC region, and I will be there for a little over a month, so I will be playing with my team, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, what are you most looking forward to? I mean, it's competing at the top level where a lot of people are wishing they could play, and certainly a world away all across the Pacific. What most is standing out to you as what you're most excited for?
I just want to try Korean food. I mean, I've had it here in Boise, but I think it's a lot different than actual, authentic Korean food. I've heard it's really good, so going to be able to eat a lot of it, and I'm looking forward to that. And obviously, recently I've been practicing with my team in Asia, but I'm in America, so the ping is really bad, the connection's really bad. So now I'm actually going to be on good ping, stable internet, so it's going to be a lot more competitive.
It seems like it was just a world ago when you were first recruited, when you came out to HughFest. There was the team that embraced you. This is kind of like a feel old yet moment, if you will, because such a long journey. Kind of reflect on your journey with the Broncos from the first time that you met them and made your decision to go with them.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I changed my hairstyle, and then I'm glad that I was able to find such a good group of people, a lot of fun that I've had over the past year, actually 2 years now. Wow, time really does fly. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I was really glad to find a collegiate team that suited me and I had a lot of fun with, both in and out of the game, so I've really enjoyed being a Bronco.
Now, speaking of the Broncos, you've had enough NACE starts so that you can come back after your professional journey in Korea.
That's
you
true.
do have qualified enough NACE starts to come back for the grand final should the Broncos make it all the way. We're also talking about the Mountain West finals, which the Broncos got off to a good start. And with this match, do you have any words before you leave of encouragement for the Broncos for this season to help drive them to the grand finals?
I'll be back for the playoffs, so don't worry about that. Everyone hold it down, don't troll. As long as we don't troll, we'll be fine.
All right. Well, we congratulate you, Great Clear. You've given us a lot of great plays, a lot of excitement, and we wish you the best of luck professionally.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And there will be a lot of content. I'm going to be making some vlog-style stuff, some, just day in the life of a pro gamer, I guess.
Yeah, and tell people where they can reach you, actually, because we'll definitely want to keep up to date with all the updates.
I'll be posting lots of pictures on clear_RW, also Boise State Esports on Twitter. We'll be posting a lot of the videos as well, a lot of highlights of it, so look forward to that.
All right, make sure you're tuned into socials for that journey. Congratulations to you. Welcome to the Boise State Esports Arena. Today we got two great Overwatch matches for you. We're going to start out in the NACE Star League Super Conference, and then we're going to be moved over to a Mountain West match. Both of them are sure to be great matches in and of themselves. And of course, with great matches, you need great company, and I sure have it right here. My name's Jacob Palmer, Gem Mountain. Also, I am joined by Rich Rad as my co-host, co-caster. Rich Rad, it's great to have you with us, talking with us right now live. And we're getting ready to get into our first match. So, first off, hi, it's glad to have you here.
I know, it's been some time, my friend. It's great to be swinging back. There's been a lot of evolution in Boise State, and I'm glad to be back here alongside you so that we can continue to see them accelerate through their gameplay.
Well, this is what's going on today. We're starting off with a match of Blinn versus UT Dallas in the Super Conference. That's supposed to be kind of a best of the best. Of course, you talk about best of the best in the collegiate space, and you see names like Maryville and Fisher and St. Clair who have been undefeated so far. They're sweeping everything. But there are these two kind of middling teams now, Blinn and UT Dallas, that are facing off against each other. So what's kind of the main theme tying these two teams together and the importance of this match?
Well, I mean, something that we really mentioned before even going into the broadcast is really the opportunity aspect and what they have ahead of them. And the biggest part of it, too, is there's still a lot of evolution to be had here with the recent patch notes that came out just weeks ago, the updated patch note just 6 days ago. So there's a variety of different things that are happening from all different walks of life in the collegiate space, even up to the professional, where they're still trying to solidify what that meta actually looks like. So that's something that's thrilling to me, because we even talked about how some of these universities might, let's say, have the accessible resources as some of those larger schools. So they have to go through these trial and error hypotheses to find out what is most viable to them and is what's most strong. So there's so much to play for here for them to utilize and get that time to educate themselves and become a better competitive player.
And UT Dallas also being the team sitting at 2 wins right now. If they go up to a 3-1 record overall after this match, that still puts them in the running against the top teams, which are currently 4-0. But we can give them all the advice that we have, but of course we also have to turn to the one and only Doc Haskell with Doc's keys to the game in Overwatch 2, and that's going to be to take fights in unexpected places. Don't make positioning mistakes, win 1v1s, and win your fights before objectives. It's all brought to you by Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you are new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. And what I was just touching on is UT Dallas is kind of in a position where they can be a sleeper in this overall tournament here. I mean, they still only have 1 loss to their record. Picking up a win here might put them in the thing where they could still make it to playoffs. And they're going to be starting out where we have started out on so many matches before. Common site, Lijiang Tower, for a lot of teams, has kind of been the default starting point for a lot of these matches. Lijiang
The one that many lean into specifically just because it has that type of versatility and opportunity for different types of compositions if they need to bring it into it. A lot of it discussion too when it comes to almost the holy trinity of what we've really been seeing from the tank lineup, the introduction of how Mauga looks to try and counteract specific types of compositions, and then also again how that cycles through it. Even some wild adjustments when it comes to the DPS lineup. Recently even seeing a Hanzo and a Junkrat trying to be woven in to these strategies to see if they can catch those off guard. That's not something more traditional ever since they had, especially with the Junkrat, well, basically adaptations and the patch notes that they did on that recent Wednesday. So there's a lot of things that I'm just really looking forward to seeing what these two teams are actually going to bring to the table and how wild the selections might be.
And also, UT Dallas is a team that, if we look back in its history for NACE Star League, there have been some times when they have pulled some upset victories, and that could bode well for them overall in this Super Conference. In the fall 2022 season, we were going into the semifinals of Boise State going up against Northwood, and UT Dallas going up against Harrisburg. Of course, Northwood, Harrisburg, two very tough teams, and people were thinking that was going to be the matchup, but the two underdogs won it and went to the finals. So Comets have been in a position before where they can rally and take people by surprise, and maybe that's on the docket for tonight. Maybe this is the start of a major charge for them.
We've seen that a couple of times too. My time with the collegiate ABC, where it came to, I believe it was homecoming or championship, one of the two. There was a stellar upset that came through by the Comets because they really were just able to play a lot more proactive. They're finding these weaknesses on some of the teams that otherwise have not allowed themselves to really be able to recoup from those types of weaknesses, and have exploited them and consistently been able to make adaptive changes throughout each independent map to take them away from their opponent. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's still the same type of dynamic that they play with their coaching staff and the methodology behind what their school likes to bring to competitive play.
All right, the gates go down. We are starting out with Gardens as UT Dallas is going to be taking the Symmetra teleport right off the bat to try to get to the point. Blinn College following up close to find not taking the teleport. They're instead opting for having an Echo patrolling the skies. We'll see how much damage that can get, but Petal taking a bit of damage from behind manages to regroup with the rest of the team for a bit of healing. As they're all caught in this building right here, and just the positioning alone might allow Blinn to rotate over toward the point, but both teams really just trying to feel each other out right now. No major picks, although Hutch is very low. Can he get back to some sort of healing? He does, and we also see the Immortality Field spent by UT Dallas, so Blinn College might be able to get in some more offensive plays. As we finally move on to the point, Petal gets the pick onto the Tracer. That's going to put UT Dallas up one in a good position to claim the point, although both these teams are really being cautious in how they fight.
Yeah, Petal is someone you really have to keep an eye on because of just the amount of damage that they can put into this. Even though they are more vulnerable as the 76 as of recently, it still could put a lot into the table. But Sven right now is doing a wonderful job on this Doomfist.
He gets taken out, though, by the Baptiste and UT Dallas with Blinn without their tank. Blinn without their tank is going to be forced off the point. The Maywall is only going to add an exclamation mark to that sentence, and it's going to force a full reset by Blinn.
I mean, the biggest part of this, too, is that you've seen now on two separate occasions that there's that early pickup coming out from UT Dallas where they get that Tracer, they eliminate them out of the equation. It's forcing them to not be able to have as much of a heavy pincer maneuver that they would like to find these exploited areas on the back line, whether it's going to be on Doi for that Baptiste or even the Lucio from Uber Eats, as they still kind of slowly posture forward and finally dive in with the Doom.
Dive in with the Doom, and Ultimates come online as well for Blinn College. They're going to use the Meteor Strike to start things out and force out the lamp by UT Dallas. Sticky Bomb right onto UT Dallas, taking out Kashir, and it's going to force out another Ultimate, the Beat and the Window. So everything's gone for UT Dallas. Blinn still has this copy in tow. Nice boot by Shadu to even things up, and if there's anyone you want to get, it's going to be the tank. So both tanks down for both teams. The point flips over in favor of Blinn.
And now, when you look at the ultimate economy here, Blinn is able to take the point, and they have two key ultimates. One specifically that I'm focusing on is the Kitsune Rush. That could be a really great tempo change and shift here to try and outmatch UT Dallas, who really has to rely on the Blizzard that they are just ever approaching as they funnel through this white room.
Kitsune Rush starting out the push from Blinn. UT Dallas almost on this Shatter, has just charged it up. Kitsune Rush, though, just keeping UT Dallas at bay. That's a great pick by Petal. Charge in by Doopy. He's pushed off into the water. And that is just a red light for UT Dallas. They're trying to move in without their tank. The May's making some space for herself, but I don't know how much room they can make. So they're doing their best, throwing out the Blizzard, trying to get the point back for themselves. So much damage is being pushed on. Sky Sniper brings out the copy, is going to copy onto the Soldier 76. Sven and Z2 get 2 picks against UT Dallas, and that was just what I was afraid of. Without that Rhine, it was just a long fight a long fight that just wasn't worth it.
I mean, the biggest thing was Petal got such a great advantage. For the third time now, we saw the Tracer being eliminated, so they had the numbers advantage. But Sven comes out so massive, getting Derpy off the edge to eliminate the Reinhardt as the tank, but also deny the Earthshatter, which they can carry into this next one, but it's still going to be a challenge as this is final fight territory for UT Dallas to be able to swap this initial round with this Tracer lurking in the back.
There's a time to take it. It's right now. Sven just gets his ultimate charge online. The Tracer's holding on to that Sticky Bomb. Could have it for this fight, but no ults have been spent by UT Dallas. Time is a-ticking for them to get onto that point. They've made their way onto there and are contesting Meteor Strike right down onto Derpy. It's forcing out some ultimates, including the Visor. That's just going to tear right through the Tracer, who can't use the Sticky Bomb now. And there's a huge shatter being brought out by the Comets, forcing Blinn College right off at the point. They might have done what they needed to do, but Kitsune Rush is keeping things interesting for Blinn College. Derpy, though, locking things down, taking out 2. Both supports gone, and the Comets still have a chance.
They do. And the nice thing, too, here on the opposing side is that Blinn was able to hold on to the pulse bomb, so they have that one-pick potential if they really do want to isolate potentially Petal, who has been devastating onto the Tracer, or also having the duplicate to get that more reinforced front line to partner alongside Sven, utilizing either the Reinhardt, or if they want to opt to the 76 for a second time, they just have to find an angle that's going to yield them maximum damage and potentially the Tac Visor, as this is a very outward position by UT.
Sticky Bomb didn't land anything for Blinn, but Petal is just taking out Sven again. That's a huge pick onto the tank for Blinn College, and now this Ryan is just going to make his way onto the point, and that alone is going to be forcing Blinn to go for a reset.
Petal has been really instrumental in finding some successful picks. Even on the couple occasions where they lose the fight, it still makes it challenging for Blinn to recover on this. But now, with the pulse bomb down, the only thing that they've got to rely on here for Blinn is this duplicate, and it has to hit Paydirt. But you're going into not only a sound barrier, but a blizzard as well, as Sven goes in for the dive.
Oh, he immediately picks up one against the Baptiste before UT Dallas can even use their beat. It doesn't go on to a whole bunch of UT Dallas, and Petal is next on the list for Sven. This Doomfist single-handedly is doing so much, the Blizzard comes down, but is it too little too late? It will put a damper on Blinn College, but Sky Sniper trades with Uber Eats, and Shadu also gets a boop onto UT Dallas. Blinn College has taken the point back for themselves. Can UT Dallas there, Lucio, hold on, no, he cannot wall ride his way to success. One last chance at a touch. They don't find it, and Blinn College takes it back.
That timing and communication between the Tracer and Doomfist was impeccable. That was the moment that you need. Picked up and denied the opportunity of getting value. But in moments like those where they are able to execute on that engagement, that swift movement by Sven secures that they have an early numbers advantage. And like you had mentioned with Uber Eats, the fact that they were so split and trying to elude the follow-through damage is that you didn't get the coverage on as many players so that they could have that throughput to get back onto the point and try and recontest. They're down 2 and playing behind the 8 ball. And at this point, even if there is a long run contest, which they attempted, the ultimate economy is now starting to develop back for Blinn, and they find themselves in a prime position to take it as we now enter into Night Market, seeing if there's any significant changes. And the biggest one that I'm focusing on here is the Junker Queen. Again, a very aggressive forward type of thinking player. Great dagger as well, already to harass this Echo Play to deny any sort of visibility, as the opposing side from UT are really starting to punish them and deny them access on this before the fight begins.
Control of the sky very much in favor of the Comets right now as Blinn is trying to rotate over the point. UT Dallas is going to get first touch. Petal down to half health. Will manage to heal back on out of there with Commanding Shout, giving UT Dallas just a little bit more tankiness, trying to survive against Blinn College's onslaught. But both of the first fights for these two matches have been a little bit tentative before the main action happens.
Yeah, just looking to try and really calculate how they want to enter into this. And I'm so focused on that Commanding Shout, like you mentioned. How early is it going to be expended into these fights? And will that be something that you can see Blinn punish as the TVT to the outscored still continues as the fight really just pitter-patters out until there's an opportunity for Sven and Zietu to get back into this?
Well, he's dived right in. He's on the point. The team goes following. They're trying to take out a squishy behind him, but Sven finds a squishy of his own. It's Uber Eats. And now UT Dallas only has one support and the Commanding Shout to try to keep them alive. Cashier is going to say thank you for that health out, take out the opposing tank. But Derpy is going to go down as well. Both tanks down for both teams. Zietu with the position on point, but is surrounded by all angles. Sky Sniper, though, providing aerial assistance, taking out UT Dallas's Echo. They're cleaning up the point, and Blinn College has got it back for themselves.
Nice recovery here. No ultimates had to be used either. Hutch, Sky, and Zietu is going to look to keep that into this next fight, which is critical. They didn't want to commit any of that so they can look for this long-run rotation of these ultimates, but Petal also having one of their own and leaning into these ultimates. The duplicate is something I'm going to see. Curious if they're going to match it as this wide outside flank coming in from Cashier to maybe get a pickup, but as they convene back onto the point, Pulse is thrown and misses.
There's still plenty of ultimates to use, and one of them, Kitsune Rush for both teams. They're going to get charging in, also throwing out the bomb. It doesn't land onto anyone from Blinn, and they still have the beat in Cho. They're going to use the copy. It goes onto the Lucio, so we're going to have 2 beats now for Blinn College health for days, and maybe a chance at some cheeky environmental eliminations. Sky Sniper doing all that he can to get some damage on, but it is hard with that. Lucio gets the beat. Looks like it was negated, though. He was taken out of the copy right as he tried to use it. Kashir gets the pick onto Sky Sky Sniper. Blinn College now down one. Can they turn it around with the Meteor Strike? Solo ult right onto the JQ. But the JQ has so much sustain, she's just going to tank it out. He does manage to get one pick, but the overall team advantage from UT Dallas will push him off the point and force a reset.
And the big thing here, too, is they really didn't have to use the Rampage. That is a massive win going into this next fight, which already being past the 50% allows them to reach this most likely last fight territory of a full 5. If this happens fast enough, there is a chance to get back in after the swap, but that Rampage is something I am hyper fixated on, because if they are able to hit 2 critical targets with this and instantly jump in with Petal and Kosh here, that's going to be a massive advantage, as there's only 20% left to go and a few seconds remaining.
They're going to use the beat to try to push in.
Oh,
That's going to wear off, though, in a few seconds. Kashira's already gotten the pick onto Sky Sniper. Blinn College now going to use their beat in response. Sky Sniper doing a last-minute hack over to swap over to the Sombra. Meanwhile, the Rampage landed onto 2, and that helped take out 7. Uber Eats and Petal both getting a pick of their own. And yes, that Rampage proving to be very instrumental in this final fight. It's desperation tactics for Blinn. Can one of them get a touch on point? The Sombra tries to hide, but she is found out, and that's going to do it for UT Dallas. We're going on to map 3.
Great opportunity of adjustment in composition. I do really like the Junker Queen here. It's something that I think is going to really push pressure onto Blinn, since realistically, when it comes to the Doomfist, it's not as, let's say, timing based as much as a Wrecking Ball, because when it comes to the Wrecking Ball, there's a mechanical level that you have to understand a long run timing when it comes to the grapple, the swing, the pile drive. The Doomfist still has a little bit of the setup, but not nearly as much time, because it can be a lot more quick and instantaneous in some cases. But because the Junker Queen is constantly pressing forward, having this type of stylistic aggression, and utilizing that commanding shout, which is a nice additional buffer for mitigating damage across the team within its radius, gives them that survival tactic, as they opt to swap it back now to the Reinhardt, where Blinn wants to bring in the Ram to try and match head-to-head.
The Bastion going in, trying to push damage onto the Ram, but he can absorb it all. But this is a whole bunch of space being gained by the Comets, pushing Blinn off the point. Hasn't unlocked yet, though, so Blinn can regroup and then go in for another push. And now they're just trying to feel each out together yet again. Both these teams being very smart and trying to find... There's such a nice play going to the Sojourn! She did not see that one coming. It was click and gone. This Bastion already making some great plays. And that's exactly what I want to see when I see the Bastion being brought out. Nice grenade as well. And UT Dallas looking like they may get the point.
Yeah, this tempo is crazy. I'm loving the way that UT Dallas is playing to catch Blinn off guard. And realistically, Blinn's not able to really plant their feet and feel as, I guess, formidable in the amount of damage that's coming through. And Petal, even though it may seem overextending, it is absolutely blindsiding that Sojourn play, like you commented. They were not ready for it. And that pincer maneuver, one from the stairways, but still funneling damage down the choke, was absolutely necessary to get that instant pickup so everyone can cycle back to the point and guarantee that it's not swapped.
Oh my goodness, talk about people melting that Ramattra. I hardly even knew he was a tank. Just a few shots from Kashir, and he was gone and out of it.
Yeah, the Torbjorn also just recently seeing a lot of play. I've personally been finding that the collegiate realm has really been enjoying the fact that that's something that they can work into the composition, and it's something unique, and it brings that harassment with the turret if necessary. If there's anyone that looks to be in the back, like a Tracer or even this Genji to some degree, it's already almost 50%, and UT's waiting for this entry.
And here comes the artillery barrage onto Blinn College. Sky Sniper manages to find out Torp's turret, but right now they are just caught up in this choke point and cannot make any progress forward. Sven tries to peek out around with the help of the window. Molten Core expended. Sven down to a little bit of low health. Manages to survive through it, but he split out from his team, trying to make some sort of presence onto the point. Shadu is there with the beat, but is very low on health. Can he use it, provide support onto the other team? They have managed to heal back out, and this fight is going into very long territory. Derpy has this Earthshatter available should he choose to use it. Might not need it as Sky Sniper is taken out. It's traded back with a pick onto Petal. There's the shatter I was talking about, right onto Sven. It's countered with the beat, so Blinn College being very tanky throughout this fight, and they managed to pay it off. They take out Derpy, and that just might force UT Dallas back. But Kachir, he has no fear whatsoever. He's still trying to take this point, and he is able to take out Blinn College's tank. So it's chaos being traded back and forth, and with Petal coming in with the double pick, and finally managed to take out Sky Sniper, UT Dallas manages to win it in the end.
This understanding of giving ground and then coming right back in after those couple of key picks, the Annihilation really zoned out most of UT Dallas, but they gave enough space that realistically they weren't taking as much significant damage as they have to swap to the Orisa now for Blinn.
It's one last fight and one last chance for Blinn College, but the Artillery Petal's already charged it up again, forces it down onto Sven. The Artillery does manage to take out one of the supports for Blinn College. UT Dallas also has the Molten Core, which they're immediately going to use to zone out Blinn College, pushing them back. Sky Sniper is looking on. Can he use his blade anywhere? No, he can't. He's just going to get taken right out of the air. Cashier and Derpy also eliminating one each, and that will cement it for UT Dallas.
Yeah, UT Dallas read this one so much better. That first map, I will say, was a little rocky. They started to understand how Blinn was playing so that they can make these appropriate changes. And this is something that I'm used to seeing from the Comets. They really do have a fundamental understanding of how to make adjustments to compete against their opponent. When it comes even to this one most specifically, their attention to detail and continue to throttle on their opponent that is a little bit more tactful and methodical in the way that they want to enter. If they deny any accessibility of getting that structure and communication to go in for a dive or go for an engagement, they're going to make sure that they don't allow it to ever come into question of actually following through.
I mean, Petal, it kind of all came down to that first pick onto the Sojourn, and Blinn was just, they were struggling to find a foothold afterwards where they could reset as a whole team, because you just had, whether it was the Bastion or the Torb, you had somebody always getting in your face, and there really wasn't a time for Blinn to really calm down, take a breather, because UT Dallas didn't even let him have it.
No, not at all. And again, it's more so too that if you notice when it came to the Ultimate Economy and their hesitation on utilizing or overusing these ultimates that they were generating, it was much more reserved. They didn't really need to commit those into either both Night Market or our last map that we had. It was so much more cohesive that they were getting more so out of their ability, rotation, and usage versus attempting to just slowly bank on the ultimates that they're just wanting to heavily use. Because we even saw 2 Molten Cores in very quick succession when it came to the later portion of that, because that's just how much contribution-wise Kashir was putting into those fights.
I mean, I was seeing, with both Petal and Kashir, with both the Molten Core and the Artillery Barrage, I was thinking, oh my goodness, these are hallways of death. I would not want to be in them whatsoever trying to push past those chokes.
Well, and especially, too, when it came to an attempt where Sven tried to move in with the Ramatra. This is where things really started to get bad. They played into it. The Molten Core was placed perfectly where they're going to divide towards that center pillar, and you could even see that Sven with that camera swivels looking to multiple different areas to try and find an exit way. Like they walked their way into it, got themselves locked in, and had no way to escape. So at this point they have so much to try and rely on their supports, which then is going to force them into an overextended position and leave them vulnerable. So everything just really started to fall apart at that point when that division happened onto the tank itself.
It's kind of like the yang to the yin of the Maywall. Both of them split off the tank from the enemy teams. In this case, though, it's lava instead of ice.
True. Absolutely. Ooh, cold to the heart, really, when you feel like that, even though you're covered in lava down below you. So just getting a little heated up for the moment. But again, as we do look into this next map specifically, the control map is always a beast in and of itself when we look back at some of these moments. This first round specifically, again, when it came to just this coordinated, I think this is actually it. This is that last moment play where both of them worked in tandem. I need to see more of this from Blinn. They have to have that execution and allow themselves enough time to make the play, but then can't sit for a moment of where they're having to overanalyze and think about how they want to go in. That's going to give Comets the opportunity to say, hey, we're not going to give you any moment to think on this, and we're just going to take the time from you. Well,
for those of you watching who might be wanting to see some more offhand map picks, you're going to have to wait and hope that this goes into either push or control, because
Right.
we're Lijiang to Kings Row, probably Servasta, for Flashpoint. If this is a
Yeah.
sweep, then it's been a match we have seen plenty of times before.
It's so common. Again, Kings Row, the test of time, and as now that we do have our introduction of Flashpoint, we have very heavily seen which is the dominant of the two that we most likely lean into. There are certain occasions where I do see Junk City every now and again, but typically Servasta is where we go. But we'll talk about that when we get to that point to see who is going to be able to take this second map. Again, it is a 1-0 score so far for Comets, taking the advantage on quite a, I would say, great adjustment in their play style on that first map of Lijiang Tower, and I'm curious to see who's going to be on the defense first here so that we get that better understanding of what type of composition they want to bring to the table. Recently, over the course of this weekend, like I was just mentioning, massive collection of Midwest universities in comparison to, your region specifically. I always like to see what carries over as they are all really starting to understand what is more favorable and closing in on that targeted meta, which we're all still really waiting to see. As even when you just recently had, I think on broadcast, Clear, who now is going outside of the country to play and compete at the highest level, and now having to try and see what kind of intel can be gathered from that and contributed into this collegiate portion. These teams in and of itself are also trying to find out what is most formidable for them to compete, as we do have Derpy coming out back on the Reinhardt. And I actually really like the fact that Petal and Kashir are staying on these same DPS compositions to counteract against Blinn. Oh, they're
right
throttling.
in, and just in the same fashion, immediately forcing out the lamp from Blinn College, but Seven can't survive through all of the damage. Derpy takes him out, but it's a question of what they had to spend. Cashier did have to go down for that elimination to happen, but without any tank from Blinn College, UT Dallas has already gotten 2 ticks onto the point. As a fight is brewing between 2 DPSs in a hotel, they'll disengage, and there really isn't. UT Dallas was being fired at from multiple angles from the high ground and hotel, and ultimately had to back off at the end.
And this is why I love UT Dallas keeping the same composition. They were able to blitz onto Blinn, and they could not recover from it. And Seven is left vulnerable, and a pin gonna come in even to knock him down.
Oh my goodness, show that tank who's boss charge right into him. Cashier and Uber Eats still trying their best to keep this fight in UT Dallas territory, but a rush from Blinn at the very last moment. They still got to take out this Rhine. Hush cannot stand up against the Rhine, however, but I like the effort. UT Dallas gets the payload.
Derpy just says here and now, I am not going back with my team, and we are not taking another attempt at this. I mean, you're talking so fast in comparison. 5 minutes on the time bank now that they can work through this streets phase. They got the stagger out as well because Derpy was just slowly but surely knocking them out one by one. They'll be able to penetrate through this archway, which is a great defensive position for Blinn, but they don't have enough members to really stabilize themselves here and have to look to try and play bookstore so that they can hold through this S curvature.
Charge goes in from Seven, as well as the window, forcing UT Dallas out of the sideline into bookstore for a little while. They'll wait to regroup on the point and then move in as a full team. Derpy trying to take a little bit of a side route in, gets back to the payload. Sky Sniper just charging up the Genji Blade, and we also have the overclock online for Blinn College as well. And we don't even need the overclock, just a standard railgun shot will do against Uber Eats. That is a great hold by Blinn College. It's going to force out the lamps and push UT Dallas into some more defensive positioning. Oh, but they used the shatter right off the bat to try to get back in. Didn't look like it hit too many people, though, from Blinn College, and they're counterattacking with the Meteor Strike, forcing UT Dallas back once again.
Yeah, they only knocked down both Seven and Z when they were playing on this, so they were only... Oh, they're going to dive into this. Never mind, I talked about Tempo from UT Dallas. Blinn's trying to do a chapter from their own book.
I like it. Fight fire with fire. Petal did manage to get the pick onto Seven, though, so that'll keep Blinn College pushing back to some respawns. Zaidu trying to do the best that they can is going to have the overclock online. Immortality Field was used by Blinn College to keep their 2 supports and the Genji alive. As Seven rejoins the point, can he help turn things back around in favor of Blinn? The Comets, though, that's a great boop right onto the Sojourn, and their other DPS, Sky Sniper, is hurting as well. He will manage to heal back up, but Blinn is 1 down and being pushed off of the checkpoint. This looks like a capture for UT Dallas, but I might be speaking too soon.
That's so critical that they get rid of Zai too. That railgun could have really shifted the momentum since things were a little bit chaotic as long as they hit their shots. But this Mei really being so monumental and denying so much visibility for the opponent, and the Blizzard tossed in the mix.
It's a great wall coupled with the Blizzard. Zaidu has spent the overclock, but it doesn't do much to turn around the fight. Gets taken out by the flame strike from Derpy. They're just 1 meter away from the checkpoint. Sveven Herden on health. The Mei is just trying to focus him down. We'll finally find that target, and then the rest are just little pieces to pick up. Sky Sniper's the last to fall. UT Dallas gets the checkpoint.
Kashir is so scary. I would not want to play against a Mei like that.
I was mentioning the yin and yang thing, and Kashir must have heard me and said, "Okay, I can play on lava and ice," and then just swaps back over to the tour, to the tour, just to prove my point even more.
I mean, realistically, you're going into Furnace, so this makes absolute sense when things are going to continue heating up as they look to try and anchor around this corner. Things are getting dire for Blinn. They really need to use this amplification matrix to stop and halt UT Dallas. And that's exactly what UT Dallas is going to do. They're going to draw back. They're going to wait until this drops. They buy their time. They have more than enough. And they also almost have the beat, which they can contribute into this so they can use this aggressively as a tempo or try and build on top of the Earth Shatter.
Looking for a good shatter that they can land. It goes down, hits a whole bunch of Blinn College, and UT Dallas goes charging in with the flame strike. But Seven is still alive, managing to tank it through. Blinn College only lost 1 to that push, and he's going to be back quick with the respawn and Lucio speed boost. So this could be a knockdown, drag him out fight to the end. UT Dallas charging up on 2 crucial ultimates. They got the amplification matrix and the beat back online, but Blinn will have it too. This fight is going to go long into overtime territory. Wall goes up. It's not going to keep UT Dallas at bay for too much longer. Derpy is going to have to be bailed out by the Immortality Field. Window placed down by UT Dallas. Meanwhile, the payload has pushed almost all the way to the final point. Beat to keep Blinn College alive. They're moving on up. Both teams have such sustain that they're not making a dent into each other, but Sveven is going to be bailed out by their Immortality Field, and Petal gets the first pick of the fight, taking out Shadu. Molten Core also brought out. That's going to finally bust through 7. Kashir comes out with the double, and UT Dallas takes the last point.
I feel like Kashir just had like a fire hydrant hose, dropped it off the edge, and was just taking all the 4. Like, it was crazy how much zonage actually happens here. I think we're going to get a first-hand look of it. It might just be before, but regardless. Like, look at how far back you're going to tuck Blinn into the corner. You're already still getting progression on this, but then you put an entire pathway of molten lava that they can't even get to it, even if they manage to persevere through the damage with the Immortality Field or the throughput healing that comes from the Baptiste. You are just a sitting duck. And again, Blinn at this point now has been downloaded. UT Dallas knows exactly how they need to play to overwhelm, because Blinn is just unable to keep tempo or just deny the sheer force that's being pressed upon them. It's like getting shoulder checked over and over again right now from UT Dallas, and there needs to be a bind in this wheelhouse that Blinn has to stop this. And now that we take the swap of sides, I'm curious how aggressive UT Dallas is going to play on the defensive side, or more so play this passive ebb and flow game where they give ground to then gain ground, where they overextend from Blinn and can capitalize onto somebody. So it's going to be a wild shift of momentum here as Blinn goes on the attack.
Well, hopefully being aggressive doesn't translate into being too careless, because UT Dallas is set up with the classic wall and maul combo of the Mei and the Reinhardt. So you don't want to make sure you just have your tank going in past the choke and split out from the other team. It's one thing that's already happened to Blinn. We'll see if it happens to them right now. Sveven is moving past the choke point. They're trading some damage right around the statue. Moving back, has to regroup with the team. And at least for the first few seconds, UT Dallas holding Blinn at bay.
Seven's mechanical understanding is really on point. The biggest challenge is that it's just unable to be as coordinated with Sky Sniper right now. They have to have a synergy between the two of them to get an execution onto UT Dallas, and that's really challenging when you have Petal chunking these logs at you consistently through Hotel and being slowed by Kashir.
UT Dallas just kind of charged onto the point. You have the split push from Blinn as a few of their players have gone into the elevation on the back line, but it isn't translating into picks. Kashir takes out Sveven, and everyone ducks back into the buildings for some cover. And this is really odd. They can't regroup as a team because 3 of them are caught way up here, and they're easy pickings for UT Dallas.
I can't realistically blame them as much because the only strategy factor of that worked for them is it guaranteed an initial tick. The fact that they divide and conquered and had 7 all by themselves on the point and drew the attention away from UT Dallas guaranteed them 1/3 of this point, which is something. And now that they opt to go here onto the Orisa, after attempting to try and have, again, that mechanical skill with the Doomfist, they need to go something a little bit more beefy. Have the Javelin for a potential pick, look for the Fortification and Spear Spin to mitigate the damage that's coming through from Petal, and find something, especially with the movement, that you're going to have from the Lucio, and maybe Hutch can get something with this Kitsune Rush.
Window's going to be the first one to start things out. Sven taken out by Petal, being relentless and ruthless. I don't think they need to spend too many ultimates here, although Sky Sniper is fighting back. Gets a very crucial pick against Joy, but Petal comes in with the double to stop any chance Blinn might have had of it. Shadu is trying to survive, but his days are numbered, and it's yet another reset for Blinn.
There's just enough that's taken out with Petal. That is a huge assist to UT Dallas. If those 2 picks don't come in, this is an instantaneous take by Blinn. Now there's one last opportunity to come back in as a 5 so that they can contest this, unless they just opt to give ground, which I wouldn't think so as the Kitsune's active.
The Dragons as well, right onto the point, but the Kitsune in the face of that Ryan still managed to survive on the other side of that main wall. UT Dallas just being pushed back, everything being thrown into the archway. It's enough to get UT Dallas to yield enough for Blinn to get the payload. They'll started with roughly about 1 minute less, though, than UT Dallas.
And now with the ultimates not having to be committed into that initial fight, they can carry that over into this skirmish that they're having. The fact that Petal's up top, Earthshatter though in the back, they're going to go in on this.
And hey, it's proven dividends so far. Zaitu is the first one taken out by Blinn. The rest are holding strong. They're moving back to their own spawn to wait for the respawn of full team. Also, not just a respawn, but this overclock. Very close. And here we go into the next fight. Charge right in by Sky Sniper, and the Terror Surge as well. Gets the Hanzo and also takes out the Immortality Field. Blinn has a green light, and UT Dallas is running scared with that beat. Petal's going to swap over the Ash, but as for right now in this fight, Sky Sniper is piling on the eliminations, taking out Kashir and gaining a whole bunch of ground for Blinn.
And you can see now that Blinn finally finds an answer to this level of applied pressure that's coming in from UT Dallas. They are looking to try, and every moment you see Derpy step forward to go aggressively, 7 is there to answer with a Spear Spin, with a Javelin, with the Fortified. There is, oh my goodness, speaking of Javelin, Petal's non-existent right now and pinned to a wall somewhere for the rest of this next few seconds. But that's what I love to see. Blinn is able to now get the better advantage by taking ground long before Derpy can ever extend forward.
Wall goes up, providing UT Dallas with a bit of cover. Window expended as well by Joy. Overclock being brought out by Zaitu, trying to go past this Rhine shield, but that's going to last for the duration of the ultimate. Slowly gaining ground almost to the checkpoint, just a little over a meter to go as the Kitsune Rush used by Blinn, trying to push them forward just that final few inches. But UT Dallas is standing strong. They'll throw up the wall, and this fight will be reset. Both teams still fighting with 5 each.
There's so much coverage here for UT Dallas with the payload in this inner wall that they actually just deny so much of that incoming fire, despite the Kitsune Rush from Hutch and the assist from Zaitu in the back. But now they go back in since they've got all their abilities back online.
Ooh, that Javelin blocked by the Maywall. Derpy's ultimate expended. Petal has brought in Bob, but it's going to hold on to it for right now because they're doing a good job of holding Blinn at bay. Now out comes Bob way past the choke point, and in goes the Rhine after him. But Blinn College is still standing strong, although they're having to gain up some ground, and their Lucio is taken out. That's going to force a retreat, and they have a little over a minute to reset and claim things back.
Bob was the sacrificial lamb. They're throwing it out into the middle to see how Blinn was going to react to it, whether or not they wanted to try and focus it, look for a pin, a redirect, the Spear Spin to move it into the corner. All those different things were going through Seven's mind, but while that happens, Derpy is able to take that space and force back and then open up an opportunity to take down the support. And now they have to go back into this. Terra Surge on the ready.
Moving in, making a whole bunch of space, but taking a whole bunch of damage. The beat comes in at just the right time, but Blinn is holding back. but they do have a whole bunch of other ultimates to use. They're used the Kitsune Rush to re-engage, go in with the Terror Surge. Sky Sniper already has one. Terror Surge lands against the Immortality Field, is able to take out Petal. Joy follows, both supports and DPS is down. It is just the tank left, and he tries to use a Shatter to turn things around all by himself, but it doesn't work. And that's an ult spent that UT Dallas might wish they had for this next fight.
And now there's a compositional shift here from UT Dallas. They're going to bring out... Ooh, they almost did bring out the Zenyatta. I almost kind of wish I would have liked to see that, but at the same time, the Immortality Field still brings massive survivability. And with Derpy having the Kinetic Grasp, that's that extra shield so that they can be a lot more defensively prone and swapping between the shields to hold on to this. But Seven's not going to really care because the Fortify is going to deny the accretion and they dive in on it.
It is target practice right now for Zaitu. Blinn moving in. Seven also picks off Kashir. Zaitu is stopped, and Petal, hey, picking up a double of his own. Both DPS is stepping up, and Petal is now going to turn that into a triple. Just about everyone getting taken down, a DPS, a tank, and a support to boot. Petal has consistently been the DPS to put in kills.
Yeah, dirty. Just some dirty play here when you find value like that. Petal is just constantly on point, and even when they're cut down for the moment, their ability to recover despite the previous exchange and finding an angle is really superior. And now they have Bob even to throw into the mix of this, and that's going to give just even more firepower for UT Dallas, as this is the last opportunity for Blinn.
Sky Sniper hanging out on the high ground with the Genji Blade in tow. Takes a whole bunch of damage, has to go back down. It's going to try to find someone in the back line, but it's met right up against the Sigma, trying to hack through all the shields, but he is getting negated from left and right. And UT Dallas also has their Immortality Field and Bob on top of that. Hutch does manage to find one against UT Dallas's Echo, but it is eliminations glory for UT Dallas on the other side. Hutch doing his best, picks up a double, but it is not enough to stop UT Dallas from holding and winning on Hybrid.
Yep. Unable to do too much here. The overtime is going to expend. It's really just immediate, swift-moving swaps coming in here by Seven and Sky Sniper to touch onto this point. The gold box of victory is in sight, but unfortunately, it will be one that's not yielded. And realistically, I have to give major credit to Hutch in this. They put in so much work to try and get them through this. The Kitsune Rush generation and the value that it was bringing was so significant. But unfortunately, the way that UT Dallas was playing and their compositional adjustments, especially towards the end with this comp that they had with the Sigma alongside with the Baptiste, was so formidable for them that they were able to just withstand whatever you're going to have from Blinn on the attack. And this is going in the right direction for Blinn, though. They have the right idea. The Orisa was massively successful when you're talking about going head-to-head against this Reinhardt, where it's just this rush man with a big hammer who wants to take space. But if you can start punishing and being the one to aggress first, the whole outcome shifts.
Well, I'll just say from a personal note, there's no feeling more satisfying when you're playing against a tank that's just getting in everyone's face and just trying to and can take the whole team on, basically, because the other team has given up so much space. You just throw that javelin and put him timeout. There was no more satisfying feeling than landing that javelin and putting some CC onto a speedy tank.
Oh, absolutely. Me being an Orisa one-trick with my little poster right there, I get it. Of anybody, I get it. So, and seeing just the proficiency that the Orisa brings to the table is so significant. But again, it's this ebb and flow. UT Dallas really understanding that at this point, all right, the Reinhardt is no longer working. It worked when it came to the choke point just before the checkpoint into Furnace, because there was so much architecturally that they could use to their advantage. The enclosed walls, the side pocket, you also had the payload in and of itself. So there was a lot that they could maneuver through to help gain that extra defensiveness between the shield and to top themselves up. But once they lost that and they became into the later portion of Furnace and they've got those different avenues, the Sigma was a much more dominant pick that can counteract against the Orisa and other factors too. When you think about the accretion, it's not blocked by Spear Spin. It's only the Fortify that can really negate it. So you're being able to take part of the wheelhouse that the Orisa has and completely nullify it with that stun or just your kit as the Sigma. And when you get that extra supportive boost of shielding from the Kinetic Grasp, you are really, really beefy.
It's really been a story of teams. UT Dallas was first to recognize the ways that they can counter Blinn College, and we're starting to see Blinn catch up with them in Hybrid. So that could make this flashpoint really crucial. UT Dallas, it is going to be crucial for Blinn College because they got to start a full reverse sweep here if they want to walk away with a W.
And here's my personal, like, unfortunate take on it, is that when you do talk about Saravasa, or just Flashpoint in general, there is some real RNG part to this, because depending upon which points become active and where their spawn location is, you can really get the short end of the stick. But at the same time, you can also really get an advantage. If you find yourself at a forward position where you're looking to take that, you gain it, and then it's immediately behind you versus cross map, points to be taken. And we are going to Saravasa, so there's no surprise here. Again, like you had mentioned, it's basically the King's Row of Hybrid, and it's going to be Saravasa of Flashpoint. Nobody really wants to go to Junk. I think Junk's a great place. But realistically, this is something that I think a lot of players really enjoy, just because of the diversity when it comes to each specific point, and then also the way that you kind of maneuver through the streets portions to try and get potentially those cross movements and catch somebody off guard.
But you also look at the scoreline. I mean, 2-1 and 3-2. Blinn has just been right at the threshold of getting a victory against UT Dallas. So it hasn't been a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a question of whether Blinn... I think it might just come down to actually the first Flashpoint. I think whoever might claim market might just have a good chance of winning it all out.
And we talk so much about that too, because there is a small margin that accumulated faster than Control, that it is just ever so slightly quicker. So when you get that initial fight and you get the point first, you generate a significant percentage. And if the fight goes long, then you're even in a better position, because if you hold on to the couple of ultimates, you bring it into the next fight, you have the advantage that way. So then now you can take it and posture yourself into a position to be primed and ready to go to that second point, where you then start to snowball, at least taking the first and second and really putting your opponent on the back foot. So I think there is so much significance, and I 100% agree with you, how this first point of market will be so substantial to the overarching story of how this specific map is going to unfold, and if Comets are going to be able to make this a 3-0.
Last chance for Blinn to stay in the game. UT Dallas looking at possibly ending this fight with a 3-1 record, just nipping at the heels of every single top team. Maryville, St. Clair at 4-0 right now, 3-1. Would not be a bad record to have against them, but we'll see what Blinn says about that. Right off the bat, UT Dallas wasting no time at all. Both teams are going to be using Lucio Speed Boost, trying to get to the point first. Who gets the first touch on it? Difference is we have a Moira being brought out by Blinn College. First time we're seeing that today. Both teams going for the JQ, however, so a lot of sustain with both commanding shouts.
Well, the other part of this, too, is they're going to have a substitute for UT Dallas. Puggo is going to come into this instead, maybe more proficient on the Junker Queen, so that it can be a challenge against Seven, who they have seen play a little bit of this Junker Queen, but as they rush into this, the high ground is a very challenging space to be in with Kashir on this Echo. UT
Dallas has been out echoing the other Echo, at least when it was on Lijiang Tower. Right now, though, Sky Sniper is picked off by Doi. UT Dallas now up one, is going to continue to go through. Look out for this flank from the Echo. From above, though, the knife lands into Puggo, so Seven wins the tank battle. UT Dallas without their tank, despite all the work Cashier is putting in, is still trying to hold on to this point.
They've managed to get already 35%, and again, this is the part that I was mentioning earlier, is that even if you do find yourself losing the fight in the long run, the fact that you're continuing to generate a decent percentage, 45 still isn't bad, and you've got at least 2 ultimates to your name for UT Dallas, so that they can lean into this next fight, and if this Pulse Bomb hits Paydirt, that's going to be massive.
It heads out. Doesn't look like it picks anyone. Coalescence now used in response by Blinn. They go charging in and take back the point for themselves. Be used by UT Dallas and Blinn at the same time. Kitsune Rush now spent by the Comets to move back on toward the point. Sticky Bomb still being held onto by Blinn College. Petal going down to half health. Manages to heal back up. Commanding Shout tanking it out for Blinn College. All of these sustainabilities being used for both teams, but Puggo finally breaks the stalemate. You also have to copy onto the other Junker Queen, so you got 2 tanks for UT Dallas's 2 JQs in your face. That is not something I want to see any time of the day.
Never, ever do I want to just come across that in any of my comp games. When you've got double Queen like that, double Jagged Blade, and then potentially had a double Rampage, No arena is safe when you have two queens like that. And now with only 15% to go, it's a scramble for Blinn to get back into this. And then they have to make the decision. Do they want to opt to try and contest or opt for the next point? They're still leaning into this, that they want to try and just touch in time with a nice pull. Oh no!
Oh! It was a split second. They weren't able to get the pick. Now they have to regroup. Yeah.
Oh no, and the point is right there for UT Dallas. This is so devastating. And this literally leads in to when we talk about they were on even the proper side to retreat out, and they didn't even have to cross over.
Blinn College, when it rains, it pours, but they're gonna have to group through this and try to turn things back despite the odds. Start out with the Genji Blade being used by Sky Sniper. The bomb gets thrown out onto Shadu, and the knife lands right into Sky Sniper, stopping his knife-wielding, sword-wielding, I should say, Indiana Jones style, really.
And with it being swapped now to UT Dallas again, this is where things get really challenging for Blinn because they do have 4 ultimates soon to their name, which is good that they can use, but with how UT Dallas is playing, they're constantly just forcing them away from this point. They can't get back to a full 5 just yet, so it'll guarantee to about 50%, and then they'll only have the one chance, and this Rampage has to be perfect coming out from Puggo. They need to make sure that it hits their target, and most likely going to lead in with this Kitsune Rush so that they can just throttle and try and take the advantage.
Trying to take a flank route on toward the point. He's spotted out. Kitsune Rush spent by both teams, both of them holding on to their Rampage, not using a commanding shout onto Blinn College. And there goes the double Junker Queen yet again by Cashier and Puggo. And Blinn College is now just having to retreat back to the point because they don't want to go up against that double Rampage. Can they get someone from far off? They do manage to take him out of the copy, and immediately they put the Rampage on. Doesn't look like it landed onto anyone, though. UT Dallas is just going to tank through it with the beat. And this is just slipping away from Blinn College. Looks like they're going to lose the second Flashpoint pedal. He's putting the pulse bomb out there, and Cashier is still putting in work as well. They've both taken out 2. The question is, can they take out Puggo? They got a toehold, but UT Dallas still has the main presence on the Flashpoint. It'll go 2-0.
Yeah, I would have loved to see maybe a little bit of a sooner disengage from Blinn. I know that they were trying to keep it contested, but if they opted to maybe move towards that middle position and get the respawn, they could be able to get to this one first. They actually just might, if I'm not mistaken, to compete. No, it's not Palace. It's going to be even further, so they now will meet neutrally at that position. And I would even say that UT Dallas has the advantage here trying to push to it since they're just getting to it. Yes, they're contesting against it. And again, you've got the Rampage held on from Puggo to use, and they're going to dive into this onto Blinn because they have to at this point.
Daichu keeping watch over the Flashpoint with this Deadeye. First time in this fight that he can use that ultimate. He swapped midway through onto the Cassidy. A lot of fire being exchanged through that small doorway. It is very close quarters fighting around Palace. Cashier, whole bunch of damage by 7. Puggo uses the Rampage in response. It only lands onto the Cassidy. The rest are bailed out with the beat. So that Rampage doesn't land. And what a Deadeye! 2 for 1 with Sky Sniper as well. Gets the Flashpoint for Blinn College. What a show by both DPSs.
That's a Hail Mary of a play if I've ever seen one. You can even see that Saitu's just sitting there like, this Tracer's been putting damage in me. My sound barrier protection is gone. I get one shot at this, and the second they blink in, takes the dome, and then gets one in addition on the Junker Queen. Everything lies on their shoulders at this moment, and now this is where Blinn has to start taking control of this map with a dive in the back of the Snipe.
This is a good flank that Sky Sniper has. Going to look for the right target with that bomb. 7 also gets one off the Rampage. UT Dallas has brought out the copy yet again onto the Junker Queen, but we haven't seen that dreaded double Rampage we've been fearing for so long. Will they be able to take Cashier out of the copy? Yes, they do, and 7 still putting pressure onto UT Dallas, taking out one of their supports, and Blinn College has almost claimed the third Flashpoint all for themselves. Sky Sniper gets the pick onto Cashier, and that'll just cement it. I think this is going to Flashpoint 4.
And with this, not only for Flashpoint, but for the overall series, they're at a deficit and have to climb all the way back, and this is the first step of many that they're going to have to take to be able to outmatch UT Dallas, but one step at a time as you climb Mount Everest. And UT Dallas now going to look to try and get to this point. They have the positional advantage due to them being respectful and not overcommitting into something and dying swift enough so that they can posture towards this next position, which I commented about Blinn potentially doing sooner. Hutch is who I've got my eyes fixated on for Blinn College, because the Kitsune Rush needs to be successful here for them to be able to take this back, because UT Dallas is in a prime position to get it first.
Point now unlocks Pulse Bomb online for Petal. I'm also going to be looking for Shadoo and Uber Eats. Those pools of water definitely asking for a nice boop as Blinn College moves on in with the Kitsune Rush, pushing UT Dallas off the point. Pulse Bomb going to be used in response by Petal. Doesn't find anybody, and Uber Eats is holding on by a thread on health. Blinn College is taking the flashpoint back for themselves, now allow them to get a good charge with how fast it charges up. A quick rotation over by UT Dallas as Kitsune Rush for them to try to take back the point. Kashir in the air showing no mercy onto Shadoo whatsoever. That Kitsune Rush changing things around completely, and I don't think Zaidu is going to be able to catch lightning in the bottle twice.
Oh man, the zoning Deadeye is unfortunately not going to pay off either. They were too far up the stairway that nobody was really in sightlines, and that 2 pickups come through. So, I mean, you got to give credit for Blinn at least getting the 24% and leading in with the Kitsune Rush, as I mentioned. But now the problem is that they're having to go into a Rampage, a duplicate, which, by the way, this will be the 3rd time we see a double queen coming into this fight, and every time it has happened, it has not been successful for Blinn to compete against. Oh, but that's a great
That's a charm. I was telling you, I was looking out for those boops. And Blinn College might have set themselves up. They will get the beat online as a result. Here comes the double copy, and Kashira instantly landing one onto 7. And I think this might be the time for finally the double take. No, Zaidu takes him out. But let's have the true Junker Queen bring out the Rampage onto Blinn College. Pulse Bomb in response, but both DPSs get taken out instantly for Blinn College. Their supports follow soon afterwards, and it is all done and dusted for UT Dallas. The Comets take it 3-0 for the whole series.
And again, worthy attempt by Blinn. They made changes that were necessary. Unfortunately, when it came to just certain moments like these, a little bit of RNG, but also just some macro play that needs to be really reevaluated, even when it comes down to the specific moment where they were really overstaying their welcome, could try and look for maybe a better position to the previous, or to the next point open. But you got to give major credit. In the collegiate space for an extended period of time, placing very well overarching in the ABC tournaments that we've had historically, whether it's homecoming or within the championship series. So no surprise here that they've been able to pull it out. But again, worthy attempt for Blinn to compete against a 3-0 series, which they fought very hard for.
Now the Comets only have 1 loss in their column. They're right behind the top teams, which are going to have to face each other eventually. So there will be some L's ticked on to the top teams like Maryville and St. Clair, and that could make UT Dallas a bit of a wild card. But they definitely earned that victory.
Absolutely. They put a lot of work into it. And again, even when they started to finally have themselves ever so slightly downloaded by Blinn, they just knew that they had to go back to the drawing board, make some adjustments into this, swap out a couple of details, and then really just come back in tenfold and do such a stellar job as a whole. And again, the tank adjustment too, I think the substitution there was something that was really valuable to them. The Junker Queen play, I think, was a lot more formidable, bringing in Puggo instead to give them that extra necessary power playing on that map.
Well, we've got 1 match down, but you are not want to go away. We've got Boise State facing off in the Mountain West at the top of the hour. But before we get to that, we'll take a short break and leave you with the top plays of the game, brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. They have several jobs, many of which offer a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. You can live here, work here, and serve here with the Idaho Army National Guard. Reach out to them on Instagram at iGuard Idaho. That's going to do it for us for the first fight. We'll see you at the top of the hour with the new Overwatch match. Enjoy your highlights. They were just 1 meter away from the checkpoints. Evan Herden on Alpha Maze, just trying to focus him down. We'll finally find that target, and then the rest are just little pieces to pick up. This guy's Blinn College. Petal going down to half health, manages to heal back up. Commanding Shout taking it out for Blinn College. All of these sustainabilities being used for both teams, but Puggo Point beat to keep Blinn College alive. They're moving on up. Both teams have such sustain that they're not taking a dent into each other, but Sveven is going to be bailed out by their Immortality Field, and Petal gets the pinky throughout this fight, and they manage to pay it off. They take out Derpy, and that just might force UT Dallas back, but Kinshir, he has no the Tracer, who can't use the Sticky Bomb now, and there's a huge shatter being brought out by the Comets, forcing Blinn College right off at the point. They might have done what they needed to do, but
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Home is where you hang your hat, snuggle up, hide out. Home is when you're with the ones you love. It isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. At Idaho Central Credit Union, our home is Idaho. We grew up here, and we're proud to help more Idahoans with their home loan than any other financial institution. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe home is where you make it.
We're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're going to save families from disaster and feed those left in the cold. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now.
Once there was a traveler whose feet never left the ground. With only his mind as his map and his senses his compass, he raced into the great unknown, armed only with the speed of legend. His trails he blazed, his rivals he played. Every sprint a blur. Every turn trusting his allies. In silence he raged and waged with quickening, sickening speed. His name a chant filling arenas. Because some heroes leave footprints, others an afterburn. Without conflict, there is no resolution. Without verses, there is no victory.
Have the beat in Cho. They're going to use the copy. It goes on to the Lucio. So we're going to have 2 beats now for Blinn College Health for days. And maybe a chance at some cheeky environment out by Petal being relentless and ruthless. I don't think they need to spend too many ultimates here, although Sky Sniper is fighting back. Gets a very... Window's going to be the first one to start things out. Sven taken out by Petal being relentless and ruthless. I don't think they need to spend too many ultimates. Rampage in response, it only lands onto the Cassidy. The rest are bailed out with the beat. So that Rampage doesn't land. What a die! 2 already has 1. Terror Search lands against the Immortality Field, is able to take out Petal. Joy follows. Both supports and DPS is down. It is just the tank left, and he tries to use a jet.
attention. I'm running out your mind. Don't know the direction to your side. Got the wrong impression. I thought that we were fine, but now it's turned to ice. So you decide, and I just wait. I don't get you, I don't chase. So you decide, and I'll just save my time. I guess we'll never know, but don't say that you're sorry. Don't say that you're sorry, girl. 'Cause we came almost too close, but don't say that you're sorry. You don't really want me, girl. It's already broken. I don't wanna talk. I'm already looking for something more. But if you wanna link up, you can hit the line. Call me anytime. So you decide, and I'll just wait. I don't get you, I don't chase. So you decide, and I'll just save my time. I guess we'll never know, but don't say that you're sorry. Don't say that you're sorry, girl. 'Cause we came almost too close, but don't say that you're sorry. You don't really want me, girl. Don't leave me on, don't let my phone. Don't leave me on if you don't really want me, girl. Don't leave me on, don't let my phone. Don't leave me on if you don't really want me, girl. I heard that you wanna be something. Why you gotta treat me like nothing, yeah? I heard that you wanna be something. You're already talking. I guess we'll never know, but don't say that you're sorry. Don't say that you're sorry, girl. We came almost too close, but don't say that you're sorry. You don't really want me, girl. Don't leave me on, don't let my phone. Don't leave me on if you don't really want me, girl. Don't leave me on, don't let my phone. Don't leave me on if you don't really want me, girl.
Breathing like I'm short on air. And every time we reach a new horizon, it's like you don't care. And we're leading something bare. And in the water I see cold reflections of what's really there. I'm not waiting on love, our time has come. We're fighting empires and I want to feel the fire again. It's not easy to love when the world is numb. We're fighting empires and we're gonna feel the fire know we're future proof. Tell me the truth, tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth, tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth, tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth, tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof.
You wanna know my feelings every time I look in your eyes. Baby, I can feel your energy, it's making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. Everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. You wanna know my feelings every time I look in your eyes. Baby, I can feel your energy, it's making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. Everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I.
Welcome to the Boise State Esports Arena. You're joining us for a Mountain West showdown between Boise State and Air Force. Broncos versus Falcons. We already saw one great match today where UT Dallas, a team that Boise State has gone up against quite a long time, has won a 3-0 match against Blinn College. That was in Nace Starley. We now swap over to the Mountain West. Boise State looking to pick up another victory in what is a very important year for them. We'll get to that in a moment, but first I want to say hi. My name is Jacob Jem Palmer. I'll be calling all the action for you as your host, and I've got Rich Rad joining us with us to call all of the Overwatch action today. It's been great to have you along with us, and we were talking a little bit before this broadcast about why this year in particular is so important for the Broncos in Mountain West.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you've had such a lucrative story and discussion about why it's so important because of being able to take just their name, basically plaster their name in history, one could say. Could you not?
You could, because if you look at the overall history for the Mountain West, UNLV won the first 3 years, and then Boise State has won the last 3 years. So both of these regional rivals are tied in overall championships they've took home in the Mountain West. So this year could be the year to decide it all for the Broncos. And it is all going to start with this game versus Air Force. And one thing you mentioned, Rich Rad, a little bit earlier in the broadcast, which I feel the need to bring up right now, is this one of the first matches Boise State is facing without a familiar face. Jonathan Clear Foraker is off in Korea right now, fighting in the Overwatch Championship Series in the Pacific region.
Yes, and with such a great accomplishment, again, seeing a student from this roster being able to go into that echelon of play. But again, there are still so many competitive players here, many that I have consistently been able to watch over several semesters, and just being able to know that they're going to hold down the fort. That's the goal here, being able to allow Clear once. I believe it's also for another tournament as well that they might be able to return just in time to be competing in that. So there's a number of different things that are lined up ahead of them that the team is going to for sure want to be able to show that they are just as formidable without Clear, but also to guarantee that it is a safe haven for once Clear returns.
Yeah, on the downside, I mean, they don't have this great player that they can still use, but on the upside, as you kind of alluded to a little earlier, you could say they have a mole in the pro scene now who can give them kind of some information when he comes back on what to do. But until then, we're going to have to rely on Doc's keys to the game in Overwatch, and that's never to take a fair fight, and that means to take fights in unexpected places when your opponents are unprepared, and of course, take advantage of that tempo. It's brought to you by Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. And taking a look up on the stage, we can see 5 of the Broncos right behind us. We see quite a various mix of students. We've got classics such as, I believe I saw Matt Merkin Gob up there, but we also got Denny Daydream, a support player who's really been coming into her own this semester, has been making some great plays by the Broncos. So a mix of old and new, and it kind of is a little bit bittersweet when you realize that a lot of people on the current Overwatch varsity roster graduate this year. So this is a big final send-off.
Well, and that's one of the most unique factors when you do think about collegiate in comparison to, let's say, pro. I mean, granted, there's definitely some swapping when players, continue to migrate from team to team, but you really have to make the best of what you have while you have them, because graduations constantly come through and new individuals transferring schools or transferring out or changing what their direction is, if it's something they want to continue. So there's always this just uncertainty behind it. But with the roster of veterans that we've seen, like you had mentioned, Matt Merck specifically, goodness, it feels like it was only yesterday started to cast Matt Merck, but it has been an extensive period of time since I have been able to cast that individual. And like I said, a majority of, the Boise State crew, but seeing these new individuals be able to step up and to compete with so many veterans, they'll be able to learn from those who have been across a significant range of competitive play, whether it's just within this collegiate realm, whether it comes to tier 2, or even like some Clear who now is going into that highest level of the competitive Overwatch, that they can learn from that as well. So it's just a wondrous opportunity for these individuals that are just coming in for the first time to compete, to learn from those that have been here for such an extended period of time.
And the upside is, even though some players graduate, they stick around in the scene and continue to pass on their knowledge. I mean, Artemis Rain, a great player from Boise State, went on to be a very great influential caster, has also been a coach for other universities' programs. So beyond going pro player, there are so many avenues for these students to continue on sharing their talents.
Absolutely. And again, as many, even when it comes to impartially staff, we've seen that from a number of different universities as well, where they go from player into, like you're mentioning, casting, but also just, you know, influence in coaching and analysis or other aspects of just the administration board. So there's so many different ways that you can continue to participate and express that knowledge and information that you generate. And they really are a longtime fan and friend when it comes from the university in and of itself. I still, even to this day, chit-chat a little bit with my alma mater about esports, and I'm many years past now. We'll just put it that way. We won't put a hard number on that one, but we'll just say it was a while ago.
Yeah,
as we're going to be hopping into our first map.
Yeah, a lot of Broncos making names for themselves as we're going to head on into Ilios for a control stage, and we're going to be starting out on the first stage. Looks like we're going over to this particular angle. This is either Lighthouse or Well, but I'm guessing that this is Well.
I'm going to gamble and say Lighthouse. I'm going to roll the dice here. As we move in here, I think it's, this is like the sculpture. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we've got this as Lighthouse. And the little fish. And the little fish.
This could be a guessing game. Production could start. Just give us a picture of a wall and then have us try to guess. Keep that in mind,
There was a while, I think content creators were doing that, where they're picking a random place on a map and you had to pick the choice. It was definitely a hard Q&A as you see it. Right? As you see a big dive coming in, though, out the gate with this Boise State play.
They're already making a whole bunch of ground for themselves as Moose has taken the high ground and Air Force struggling to gain a foothold. It's going to be a Doom showdown up on the top ground, whereas on the point you see a sneaky... They try to take the point for them, but it's quickly spotted out by Moose. Now they're going to regroup as 2-on-1, but the rest of the Broncos come in for support. Daydream picks up a res onto Lyric. So that small advantage that Air Force had at the beginning is going to be evened out. Mackler gets a great pick onto Kenny, and Arduous Disc falls off of the edge. So it's a very short time that Air Force is able to keep control of the point.
That was so important by Daydream getting that res and keeping this team still functioning. And the biggest part, too, was Matt Merck and Kel being able to play back, because you lose the healing while the Mercy goes in for the res. So even though Matt Merck and Kel were low, they had a really great presence of mind, knowing that they needed to be much more reserved in their playstyle until you had Lyric back online.
Second time we've seen Vintage Knight go for the point. Try to take it out from Boise State, but they've been wise to the plan both times. Kenny gets a pick onto Moose, and Boise State losing their tank. That's a big loss, but we'll see if Cal can pick up the slack. He can with Matt Merck. It's terror from the skies as Cal and Matt Merck are both raining down vengeance from above.
Death from above, indeed. I mean, you'd almost maybe wonder if the Air Force says, look, they've got two aerial players. Maybe we need to somewhat put them in the field for us, as there's two ultimates online right now. Matt Merck and Kel are ready to unleash. They go with the duplicate onto the Baptiste, and surprisingly have a little bit more of a unique methodology instead of what we saw earlier, which was going for tank duplicates, as that's just going to be rockets from above.
Arduous Disc, though, gets a pick onto Daydream. Boise State is going to lose a bit of healing. Matt Merck is trying to hold on. He's unable to do so. It's been the tank for Air Force that's really been coming through, but he doesn't have his team to support him, so Boise State still has control of the point, and oh, what a nasty flank from Kel. That's a bad stagger placed onto Air Force.
A couple of Flyboys just coming in, doing what they want, as it's going to be now just approaching this final fight territory. Daydream with the ultimate available, along with the Meteor Strike, and even Lyric coming in, and this is just a clean-up. Boise State dominating right now and feeling so just in perfect tandem with one another.
There goes the Meteor Strike, as if there isn't enough hazards coming down from above, right onto the top of the spawn for Air Force, and comes back in there. They don't even see it. Moose gets him in the back, picks up a double. Boise State is just being cheeky at this point. Air Force gets one touch on the point, but I don't know if it's going to turn things around.
So I know we were joking around a little bit from like Death from Above between Kel and Matt, but that was just Doomfist Death from Above, and it was so clean, putting salt in the wound here as they head back to the point. Numbers advantage here for Boise State. Duplicate as well, getting a second Doomfist on the point. It's only a matter of time as they'll be able to clean this up. even with these wild attempts, I mean, the biggest thing to focus on here is just really this, again, tempo control from Boise State. They have full understanding of when they take ground, they will not relinquish it. And with this double aerial attack, there's no way that Kenny is able to focus that. Like, if you go for one, and if you do get one of them, these are two very proficient aerial attackers from both Matt Merck and Cal.
I just got to say, if Boise State is going all in on the arrow, they need to fully commit. We got Daydream on the Mercy. Just go Valkyrie, Battle Mercy, and then everyone is dealing damage in the air. And then you've got the full... It works out great in terms of theming.
Just whip out the pistol. That's fine. Just sit in the back. Just Battle Mercy it up. I personally am hoping that there is a brief moment that we get a POV of that. That will just make me have a cherry on top of my ice cream.
I think the one moment...
But again...
The one moment that made our casters lose it more than anything else was the one moment we caught a Battle Mercy repeatedly on camera.
Yeah. See, it really does. It really does just put a smile on the face. But what also puts a smile on my face is this Mauga selection and Matt Merck talking about the Junkrat that I mentioned at the top of the broadcast and how it actually does have some merit.
At the beginning of the semester, Doc Haskell, head coach for Boise State Esports, was just saying the manga they have is so dirty, and Kel gets the pick onto the Mercy. Moose going out for a flank, trying to catch any person who's off to the side. There isn't any. Meanwhile, Matt Merck and Kel doing all they can to hold down the fort. Matt Merck getting a triple against the Falcons.
Yeah, Junkrat can be really disgusting now with the adjustment that recently came through. And then the other thing I want to touch on too is the Mauga here. And we've seen it be able to come to power when it's looking to counteract certain tanks. But the biggest thing that I would love to see from Air Force is maybe opting to go for an Orisa. But this nice pickup from Vintage is really important, and if they can just deny that res.
I see you, Rich Rat, always trying to get the Orisa in there. I appreciate it. Matt
really
Merck gets the pick onto Vintage. Lyric also picks up Kenya. And both DPSs down for Air Force, going to force another reset.
And again, 30+% already accumulated. The Rip Tire going to be online. Nice stun at least out the gate here as they wait and hold towards this choke point to move up through the stairways. Air Force is just having a trouble breaking this barrier.
Another thing I'm noticing is that there haven't been too many swaps from Air Force. They've been sticking on what they've loaded on initially. Matt Merck has so much air and is moving in, but Kel beats him to the punch. And he's going to try to catch the lone Mercy. Going every which way, it seems both DPSs are trying to outdo each other. Solo Rip Tire onto Arduous Disc. This is just a field day for Boise State's players.
So I said salt in the wound. I feel like it's Himalayan rock salt. It's a lot more value and just size of salt for how Boise's playing. They are primed and ready to go in this one.
It's kosher salt, it's the extra spiky, crystally kind that just digs right in. But it is the best for cooking.
And with only, oh my gosh, now I'm hungry and just want like a well-seasoned steak. That'd be
Oh,
great.
that
And that's
sounds
what
great.
Boise State's going to celebrate with if they've got 4 ultimates with the Rockets to rain.
And there's just one lone player on, gets hit with the sleep dart.
No!
Angie goes on as well. Daydream. I was wanting to see some offense, and the Ana can pop off, trying to land that final shot, but is getting healed up by their Mercy, who's popped the Valkyrie. Lyric gets the pick onto Kenny, lands one shot against the Mercy. Tree of Life is going to go out right now as the tank from Air Force is going to bring out the Meteor Strike right onto Daydream, but the Mauga comes in. Moose for the backup. He gets hit with the Sleep Dart. Nano Boost onto Lyric. So now we're going to see a Dreamweaver offense coming out from Boise State. It is a madhouse every which way, but Boise State gets the victory.
I feel like it was a cheeky positioning on the tree. It just made me think of like the Gondorian white tree. Like it's just sitting up there on its pedestal, just kind of chilling out up there. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna put that up there. It's gonna block the sightline for the airspace. No worries. But I mean, overall, this is just a masterclass in coordination, and I've not really seen double aerial play like Afara and an Echo in a long time. And it's something that just catches you off guard when you have it, and played to such a well-rounded understanding. And these directional rockets, they're landing so consistently. It's a major shout-out to both of them. But even the support line, I mean, let's be real. I love Ana POV too. We talked about Battle Mercy. No. Battle Ana is also there.
Yeah, just not only the shots, but when he can land the perfect sleep dart. I just, same with Orisa's Javelin, but any sort of CC ability that you can land onto a player, the most satisfying feeling in Overwatch.
And the biggest thing now is I don't foresee this being the same type of composition going into the next map, but you never know. Once we get there, we can talk a little bit more. But the biggest factor for me for Air Force is I understand that they had their composition. I feel that they kept with what they're confident with, but I would be curious to see a little bit of versatility because as you see in this replay, they started to potentially do so. They had the 76 for the hit scan and then they wanted to bring out the Cassidy. But the problem is that they did that so late in this with the last 10%, you're already playing behind the 8-ball. And then the contribution that's going to be there is not going to be as significant. And then when we go into the second map, as you can see in the replay, they tried to match it up head to head with this Echo and Pharah, where it's not that you can't do that. It's just if you now try to play into something, you have to be able to play it more efficiently to deny it or find an opportunity of synergizing with the rest of your team. And I just felt like that was a little bit broken and it didn't have as much structure behind it. And I think that going in with either a double hit scan or having a little bit more focus on that was the better option maybe instead.
And there were a lot of times when Air Force where there were very few times when they moved in as a complete unit. If their tank made it to the point, he at best maybe had one or two players with him, but I never saw like a full team fight. And when you got characters that can be as mobile as the Pharah, that's just the dream for both of Boise State's DPSs because they can face everyone one-on-one.
Yep, and then the other two is the hypothesis about how you want to actually focus on the opposing team, especially when it comes to one aerial unit being a Pharah, or even more so when there's two. You can really try and focus on the ground game so that you take the advantage there, get the initial picks, and then draw your attention to up top, or do the reverse. One of those decisions have to be the go-to, though, and instead of trying to divide your forces and your focus, makes it even more challenging for you to become successful in those types of encounters.
All right, and we also get confirmation on what the next stage
Kings
is.
Row.
Yeah, it's Kings Row. What else is new? There's your analysis for the second stage. But Boise State, they will get choice of on what side they want to go. And I think that they're just, I think with as good as the team playing, I think they're just going to try to hold defense and hold them completely at the first point. Something they've done multiple times before.
I mean, you can really go either way. I definitely understand the desire to play on the defense first because you set the goal and then you kind of really mess with the mental. If you keep them denied from reaching into the payload phase, that's a heavy weight to bear. But in the same instance, if you feel like you're playing aggressive, you know you have dominance over your team, and you want to push and run the gauntlet, you can do just as much mental damage and really test their fortitude. As we're going to be entering into this, the other big factor when it comes to the defensive side is, are we going to see that type of aerial play? The Pharah, is it going to be the Echo again? Because there is a lot of verticality to this map, in addition to also just a lot of nooks and crannies in the choke points, and also building structures that you can use to give extra coverage and deny and waver away from having the Mercy pocket. But if you are correct, and it is going to be Boise State on the defense, it's an interesting composition here where they are going to have potentially the Moira and the Doomfist from what we can see already with a Tracer. Sombra, there is a very, very well coordinated dive composition coming out from this defense side, and it's going to be very important when it comes to their comms to be successful.
I think the fact they're pushing up on theater and they're just right in the face of Air Force was all the confirmation I need that was Boise State. Immediately they're going to take a fight between the tanks, but it's a 2-on-1, now it's 3-on-1, and they just collapse right down around them and take out Air Force's tank. Oh my goodness!
Daydream.
Another knife shot by Daydream. I was wanting to see some offensive support play, and Daydream is paying in droves right now.
Daydream's kind of nutty right now. The kunai are unreal. And also, for a little bit of tech right there, that Suzu, the moment that fist comes through, just completely saves them before being knocked into the wall. And again, Air Force already down one with Matt Merck playing this devastating Tracer.
Arduous Disc gets the first pick onto Kel, and another one picked up by Daydream. Could pick up a double, lands a knife, just needs one more, gets it, and another double for Daydream. The support popping off for the Broncos.
Yeah, I think we just leave OBS here. I think we just leave OBS right here and we don't go anywhere. I'm kidding. You can definitely do what you want. But again, this Kiriko has been really on point. Not only just for the sheer amount of sustain that's being brought in healing, but also just the throughput damage. And now even going to give some harassment so they can't even get to this point.
They're trying to jump in, but Boise State collapses down around anyone who goes in by themselves. Not one of the Broncos have fallen. The tank does get onto the point and takes out Matt Merck. Lyric also hurting a little bit on health, manages to heal back up. The Broncos go in. Lyric with a bit of a flank as well. Gonna get on out of there, though. Does not want to be mowed down by that Doomfist. Also needs to give healing to his own tank, and 2 of the Broncos fall. Air Force has found an opening, and the rest of the Broncos give up the point.
Yeah, the biggest part that helped Air Force was recognizing that the Doomfist was so close to their spawn.
Kidding me.
It was too... Oh, wow. They're actually going to be able to come back in, getting some nice recovery here. A stick, too. Goodness gracious. I was going to give some analysis on how they get this point, but that's completely out the window now.
Every second I was like, are you kidding me? The Moira doesn't actually pick it up. No, Lyric finds a way too. He's just crazy like that. And it's going to use the Coalescence as well. Solo Coalescence onto Vintage, because that's the only player left in Boise State. Prevents Air Force from taking the point.
I mean, again, there was such a massive chance for Air Force to take this, but unfortunately they overextend out into the archway, and now once again Lyric goes down. Vintage finds the pick. This could be another shot for Air Force to get a second tick.
Meteor Strike brought out by Disc. Still looking for a target, haven't heard it go down. Cal a little low on health, heals back up though. Suzu also bailing out Boise State. Matt Merck gets a double onto Space and Phoenix. Cal chips in. Vintage Knight tries to even things back up, but the Air Force then have to reset yet again with only a minute left for them to get the first point.
I'm pretty sure that Boise State wants to forever have their name recognized, that they are victors for four years total to surpass their predecessors as it was, because it's their tie. But now a pick comes in. It could be a chance once again for Air Force.
Daydream brings out the Kitsune, moves on in. Vintage Knight gets 1, and Daydream is out. Phoenix, now it's 2 down for the Broncos. Other chance for Air Force to get the point. They'll get past the second tick, and I think most likely they'll capture this one. Yeah, they're all grouped up, but a Recontest comes in from Moose. Can Boise State take this back? They're severely down. Lyric gets one against Vintage Knight, but the tank is still up for Air Force. The Lyric, what is it with this Moira? What is going on here? Picks up a double, still alive. Cal comes back in with the Death Blossom, gets a pick on the Phoenix, gets rid of Arduous Knight. Are you kidding me? The Broncos are gonna end it right here, right now.
The comeback power from Boise State is unmatched right now. Okay, because I was watching Lyric before that last fight. You saw Lyric separated from the rest of the team, waiting to see if they'd use the Fade to enter back in for contention. But Moose was actually it into the overtime and give them that opportunity. Then, between the two of them, they actually find 2 eliminations. Lyric out of nowhere gets both, I believe it was Space Wizard and Phoenix in this, which is absolutely insane that you turn that around and get rid of both supports in that factor. So then at that point, the Air Force has no healing. They have nothing to survive with. And that is the 2 biggest pickups that I could ever ask for in a last moment desperate play to try and get a full hold here on the defense. And when I mentioned about mental fortitude earlier, I can guarantee you the Air Force is literally rattled right now.
When I was predicting that Boise State might pick the first point, I mean, my prediction was overall right, but I never could have thought in my dreams that it would play out like that. Both times, Lyric landing at least a double on the Moira, allowing the stagger back in from the Broncos, and now it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to the first point, and they'll claim Kings Row and move on to match point.
I do like the Symmetra selection here. They are trying to have a really solid defense. They have the extra damage from the turrets, also being able to hold through this pincer. The Tracer looking for a potential matchup between Matt Merck if they continue to take it out. But what do I see in the distance? It is a Roadhog ready to play with the opponent and just look for these stray hooks.
He'll have to be on the cooldown. The hook comes back online. Does he land it? He has to deal with the turrets first, moving around trying to find his target. Takes a breather, though, is just going to be patient and wait. Lands it!
Oh my
pulls it
God!
Onto the Junkrat tire! That is so beautiful!
Oh my god, stop. Moose gets another hook back-to-back and eliminates the Symmetra. This is now just absolute eradication. They will just remove Air Force from this point entirely.
And it's a quick attack push, but one that'll do it for the Broncos. Their tank is pushing up here, but there's no backup for Arduous Disc. Air Force's tank, Lyric, has a whole lot of healing to do right now. Arduous Disc goes in to get a pick. And oh my goodness, what is it about the retakes this match? Phoenix and Vintage Knight both get a pick. Kel trying to keep it for himself. Meanwhile, Lyric, as he always has, is finding a way to hang on in there. Boise State is kept to just one tick.
Yeah, big comeback. But again, the most important part is that Boise State was able to get one tick. They are just even that much closer that they don't have to rely on a solely full take right now. And Lyric's going to continue oh my goodness, Lyric.
Also, the Suzu heads on him, so he's basically just, resets entirely in a team kill like it was nothing. This, for sure, I'm calling it now, is going to be what allows Boise State to get the victory. Can't do a recontest if your whole team is eliminated, but that's what it took for this match for that to actually be the case.
I mean, here's the thing is, I know we didn't see Lyric end up in the kill feed at the ending portion where I'm saying, oh my gosh, Lyric, but just the overall contribution of damage, like we talk about Zarya, has the bubble, gets extra damage, puts in extra work in addition to the DPS. Lyric, the number of times that we were able to see offensive versus defensive to have to utilize the healing contributes so much into this. And it's just constant chip damage that is only enabling 2 DPS that are already extremely fantastic in the roles that they play. But everything working all in synergy like that just makes it so easy for the team that they can pretty much just control any space without no contention. And we get to see it here again.
If there was any match where I wish I could have seen the leaderboard just to see the exact damage number for Lyric, I would have wanted to see it here because, oh my goodness, the double both times. And then even towards the end there, Air Force also was able to recontest and get back the point. Arduous Disc, this is what started the snowball rolling down the hill. Is Arduous going way past that choke point and just all by himself. And that was something that we mentioned back on Ilios too. Arduous, he's a talented player and is getting a lot of one-on-one picks as the Doom. It's just he isn't finding himself with the backup in a lot of scenarios to allow him to have that staying power.
Or not even just the backup part of it. The real challenge when it comes to Doomfist is when you do your full combo and you have those few seconds of a window where you literally cannot do anything, and if you don't get the picks that's necessary, you are a sitting duck. So you absolutely have to have that support. So there are, like you're mentioning, moments of where it's successful, or you can at least kind of stagger out its usage, which gives you a little bit more of that throughput. But couple of times it's like, oh man, well, I am just now twiddling my thumbs and hoping that somebody will save me.
Yep, and for Arduous Disc, I mean, I gotta hand it to him. He's been the player who is he's been the player I think that can try to turn it around the most times. Air Force now going to be moving on to Servasta. That is their pick, and we've already been talking about what a snowball Servasta can be. I think the Broncos are going to want to take that to its fullest advantage and 3-0 this.
They want to close it out. They've got so many more things on their mind looking to get this championship here once again, and I'm not surprised at all. And like we touched on it, first specific point means the world. And as we're entering onto Servasta, I would be curious to see if we have a little bit more of that interesting type close encounter brawl mechanism that was coming out on King's Row with the Roadhog, or if it'll come to something a little bit more mobile. And we know that Boise State can play both a very mobile composition, but then also a more methodical one as well. So either way, I think this is going to be an interesting matchup between the two. But the biggest factor, as I've talked about, is with Air Force. They need to understand that if they make these certain changes, they have to have a game plan in what their value is with the compositional selections. They're very much heavily into the Doomfist. It's a comfort pick for them from what I would anticipate and what I see. And going into this now, with the number of avenues and specific points that you're going to play on, I really, really want to see them try and hyper-communicate and focus on eliminating a singular target with both Vintage and Arduous to get that advantage, and they need to do it cleanly.
Boise State bringing out the Bastion Lego skin, of course. If you want to win brownie points with me, Arduous already taken a bit of damage down to half health. Boise State being a bit tentative before they move in as a unit. Catches out Vintage Knight all by himself. He has to recall on out of there, but already that ability spent. And the grenade thrown out by Matt Merck picks up a double. And Air Force, they've claimed the point, but now there is a world of hurt coming back to focus them down.
And I feel like there's a little bit of just disconnect here. And again, it's not a significant problem because, again, they were able to at least get an initial percentage. But Air Force, I think they're a little disjointed in how they want to actually enter into a fight. And that's why you see these two separated and getting caught out. Vintage, again, getting it picked up here. So that's where they have to try and bring themselves into a singular unit so that they can play, because these staggers right now are just going to continue to cause problems.
If Matt Merck continues getting as many sitting duck targets as they can, then the reason it's called the A36 grenade is that's how many kills he's going to have at the end of this. He's going to go way up into the 20s and 30s if he's allowed to just rain terror down on singular targets.
We'll see how they look to re-enter this. Kel continuing to catch out one, and this just relies back into the stagger. I want to really see Air Force be able to get a full stack of 5 so that they can counteract against this, but Matt Merck already going to look for an instant pick with that artillery.
Just a solo ult right onto Vintage. Boise State going north of 80. A miss by Moose on the hook, but the team is so split up right now that Boise State can just afford to continue fighting in the streets. Meteor Strike, Arduous Disc probably to move back onto the point, at least get the touch. Life Grip heading on over to Kel as he's ready to bring out Deadeye. Doesn't even need it, lands the 2 shots. Boise State's got the first flashpoint.
And again, you had Air Force get an initial pick, which was great. They were able to counteract one, but they just need to now, once they get those types of picks, be aware to then regroup to the next. Boise State, of course, now looking to move into this next position where they have already the point advantage. They have a Deadeye, they've got the Tree of Life, they're soon going to have both the Kitsune Rush and the whole Hog. Everything stacking up at least in an ultimate economy, but thankfully, Air Force does have something with the Kitsune Rush to counteract against it. It's just they have to be very cognizant of this, and somebody's going swimming because Space Wizard just casted a spell, and oh my gosh, Lyric just saved his life.
Oh, okay, this will hopefully help them survive a bit. There's a Tree of Life. Matt Merck and Moose both pick up one. Lyric also going off to the side, going up against, it's a tag team support against Phoenix. They pick up the elimination. Oh boy, but just to call back to that, I mean, Kel moved completely around the point. Arduous Disc didn't see it, and I'm like, oh boy, I think Kel's going to be able to get a great flank here. No, it was Kel, the one who was going to find a nasty surprise around that. That was so perfect, like the jump scare of Overwatch, just seeing the Bastion right there.
And you just hear in the background, wah, wah. Just for the sad face moment being knocked off. Oh no, Matt Merck.
I know production well enough, they'll probably make that. They'll probably put that in there now that you've suggested it to them. Matt Merck not stopping on the elimination train, picking up Phoenix, and it looks like Kenny went off the edge of the map into one of the pools. Space Wizard using the beat, but it's not going to be going on to too many of the Air Force Falcons. Boise State just picking them off one at a time. There's the Bastion again. But Boise State is so well organized, despite the pick he got with the grenade, they'll be able to trade it and keep the flashpoint in their control.
And now with this last opportunity, only 18% to go, which is just going to vanish in front of their eyes. Daydream, that would be a great pick if they can get Daydream.
And they do. That is a great pick, but can it be enough to take back the flashpoint? They'll use the artillery. This is their best chance with the Kitsune Rush as well to boot. Matt Merck is so far back on his respawn. Oh my goodness. It's one Bastion against the other. Catches him in the artillery form. He's now going to rain even more damage back onto Air Force. That is quite a surprise play from Boise State. They saw how well Air Force's Bastion was able to catch Boise State off guard. They decided to one-up them.
Nice swap here. Question is will they have enough to get back into this? Kenny's already down. And a few others to boot, I think just accidentally just whizzing off the edge. guarantees that Boise State is now going to take this second point and can look for the third. And the biggest question is, where will it be active? And is Air Force going to get an opportunity for RNG to be in their favor? And it's close to potentially their spawn. It just might look that way. But the big problem, too, is will Boise State be able to catch them in the rotation?
They have a few good ultimates to do so. The only thing Air Force has is that Meteor Strike, whereas Boise State has to sustain with the Tree of Life. Could even just use the Deadeye as a zoning. Air Force is going to be able to get to the flashpoint first, but I think there's going to be a heck of a recontest from Boise State.
Yeah. It is. I mean, the good thing is, again, for Air Force that they have the positional advantage. They do have the Meteor Strike, and they're going to try and chase towards any of these ultimates as quickly as possible, because if they have their ult tracker online, they need to know that they're at the disadvantage.
Nice Suzu by Daydream helps keep Moose out of trouble, and he puts the whole hog right onto Air Force. Matt Merck getting the pick onto their Reaper. The damage continues to move forward. Meteor Strike right into the choke, but Kel just predicted right where it was going to land. Has it. Matt Merck picks up another one against Phoenix and Space. That'll be the flashpoint taken for the Broncos. Can you get one more? Of course you can.
Oh, the focus fire from Cal on this Cassidy is petrifying. Realistically, I am just every shot I'm like, not gonna miss, not gonna miss like that.
Oh! And it's just forcing the tank back. Kel just basically turning Cassidy into a sniper at this point with how much he's landing those headshots. Lyric is going to be able to survive through that. He went low on health, but now the Kitsune Rush comes through for the recontest. Matmark gets one with the grenade. He does go out, and it's traded 1-1. Keldo gets the advantage back for Boise State with a double, and Air Force is going to have to reset yet again in final fight territory.
Yes, indeed, final fight. It's the last opportunity. A Dragon Strike can be useful, though, to separate Boise. And then in addition, with the sound barrier available, they are able to control the tempo. The biggest thing is that they can't afford to get taken down this early.
Here goes the Dragon Strike. How effective will it be? Life Grip to help Boise State get on out of there. And the Deadeye! Oh, Ardris just gets right in his face before he can fire. But this Bastion, whole bunch of damage being placed on the support, does manage to get the pick against Vintage, but some of his Broncos will drop as well. Daydream and Kel down and out for the count, but Matberg comes through with a double Tree of Life just to keep the support alive. And then Matberg comes to his aid. Boise State finding a way to get to 99% and tank it on out to take it 3-0.
Very, very clean all around from Boise State. They are here for a reason and should be feared to claim that championship title. My goodness, they really, really do want this to be plastered, and especially for those that are in their senior year, they want to say, yeah, last year that I was here, this is what I accomplished for the university.
And one thing I like so much is that every single player got a chance to have a clip that's going to be going in the highlight reel. The supports were not content to just stand by the sidelines, and Kings Row especially, both of them came alive and made game-changing plays. So every single Bronco up on that stage that you see there did phenomenal work tonight, and they'll take home the 3-0 sweep against Air Force. And you don't want to go away because we'll pick up one of those Broncos off the stage and have a post-game interview afterwards, so you're not going to want to go away from that. But as of right now, Richard, there were so many insane moments from that last fight. Do you want to pick out just one, just to call out one more time before we go to a break?
So I know it wasn't like super pivotal, let's say, to a specific fight, but you get a boop, and then instantly after, they attempt to counter onto the Roadhog, and it's just like, Lyric's like, nah, come right back here, big boy. You're going to come right back on up here. You're not going in for a swim. And, like, just little super, like, intricate moments like that where, again, I don't think we ever get to really highlight the supports as much as we should, because they really are, like, the lifeblood of the team that allow us to survive. But there were so many just critical overarching moments just in the micro play from supports that allow this to be so successful, in addition to just the overall well-oiled machine that Boise State is. So it's so hard to pick one, but I think for at least a little cheeky laugh, it was definitely that one.
For me, it's got to be the Bastion jump scare on Kale's flank, mainly because here in the studio, I can also hear them on stage. And hearing the surprise noises from Kel as he panics was so great. You suggested adding in, the trombone wah-wah. I'm thinking, they gotta add in the Metal Gear exclamation sound effect there, because that's the perfect time for it.
That's the next short content right there.
Yeah. All right, we're going to be doing an interview after this, but first we're going to leave you with the top 5 plays of the game, brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. They have many positions offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. You can live here, work here, and serve here with the Idaho Army National Guard, and they'll bring you the top 5 plays of the game to see right now. Don't go away. We'll have one interview to close things out for the night. We'll see you soon. Still has control of the point, and oh, what a nasty flank from Kel. That's a bad stagger placed onto Air Force.
A couple of Flyboys just coming in, doing what they want, as it's going to be now.
To the top of the spawn for Air Force, and comes back in there. They don't even see it. Moose gets him in the back, picks up a double. Boys, but can it be enough to take back the flashpoint? They'll use the artillery. This is their best chance with the Kitsune rush as well to boot. Maverick is so far back on his respawn. Oh, and another one picked up by Daydream. Could pick up a double, lands a knife, just needs one more, gets it, and another double for Daydream. The support popping off. Nearly down. Lyric gets one against Vintage Knight, but the tank is still up for Air Force. The Lyric, what is it with this Moira? What is going on here? Picks up a double. Still.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Home is where you hang your hat, snuggle up, hide out. Home is when you're with the ones you love. It isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. At Idaho Central Credit Union, our home is Idaho. We grew up here, and we're proud to help more Idahoans with their home loan than any other financial institution. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe home is where you make it.
Once there was a traveler whose feet never left the ground. With only his mind as his map and his senses his compass, he raced into the great unknown. Armed only with the speed of legend. His trails he blazed, his rivals he played. Every sprint a blur. Every turn trusting his allies. In silence he raged and waged with quickening, sickening speed. His name a chant filling arenas. Because some heroes leave footprints, others an afterburn. Without conflict, there is no resolution. Without verses, there is no victory.
We're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're going to save families from disaster and feed those left in the cold. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now.
Welcome back to the Boise State Esports Arena. We just saw Boise State pick up a 3-0 sweep against Air Force in their Mountain West match. We are going to close things out tonight with talk with Daydream, one of the supports for Boise State. We were talking so much about how the supports came alive on Kings Row, and we'll get to that interview right now as Daydream is sitting right beside me here at desk. It is great to have you here, and thank you for joining us for the interview.
Hello, thank you.
So, I mean, we've got to talk. We've got to talk about what happened on Kings Row. Specifically, it seemed for a moment everyone was trying to focus you down, and you just slammed the door in every single one of their faces.
Oh yeah, they were asking for a Kiri match, and I had to. I love playing Kiri, and they just wanted a match, so I was like, of course, I have to play Kiri. And so they were all trying to gun for me but it was pretty fun, and I got that 3K, and I was pretty amped about it.
And our other caster, Rich Rad, was also calling out. It wasn't just the 3K you picked up, but the Suzus were on point for how
thank
well
you.
coordinated you were with the team. So it was just a pleasure to watch that. Now, I got to ask overall about the match. What was kind of the energy going into the match day? It seems like you all were kind of loose and just ready to have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly that. The energy today was really just have fun. Our goals were to like get a cool kill with Lifeweaver's pole and a Cassidy high noon, but that didn't happen sadly, but we got pretty close a few times for it.
And that's what I liked so much about this match. I said it right before we went to break, is that every single player gave us such great material for the highlight reels. Every single person got their chance in the spotlight. And we were also saying here, we were talking about we wanted to see, we were joking a little bit earlier, because when you came out on Ilios, the first stage, I mean, you already had the Echo and the Pharah dealing damage.
Yes.
You had the Meteor Strike. We said, Boise Stage just full commit with the aerial offense and go battle Mercy Valkyrie.
Exactly, yes. We were playing against Air Force, so we had to bring the Air Force as well.
I love it. I love it. Well, talking about what's coming up next, you've got CECC matchups in this weekend on Saturday. So what are you specifically doing, and then the team as a whole, to prepare for those really big matches?
Well, a new season just came out, so we're all playing just tons of ranked. We're all playing games like this, trying to have as much fun as possible, but also taking it very seriously at the same time to not only like gear up for this cool event that's happening this weekend, but also try and do our best.
I took enough piano lessons as a kid to know it's practice, practice, practice.
Exactly.
So a great job you gave. Everyone here is such a great show. So thank you to you and the team as a whole for giving us a fun match to watch tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you to everyone who's watching right now on Twitch. Thank you for joining us, but you're not going to want to go away for this week. Not only did I mention the CEC matches this Saturday, but we still got Valorant tomorrow with great Mountain West matches and NACE matches as well. So we'll see if the Valorant team can pull things out tomorrow. And then we'll have Smash for you on Thursday. The week is still jam-packed with content you do not want to miss. But for now, for tonight, we'll sign out. Hope you had a great time watching. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.